Can you explain how the feudal system actually worked? Because there's a lot of pointing to it to show how bad the Middle Ages were. I've heard it was put into place to be able to have an immediate defense to stop Viking or other attacks, being as a kingdom is vast with a lag in time on the counterattack. Also, what is Charles's take on whether or not it worked, or if he liked it as a system?
Well, feudalism meant using academics from colleges as slave labor in the fields, which is why they hate it so much today.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It's because you had all these academics there, and they weren't good at anything. They didn't have any real skills, so all they could do was pull plows and dig ditches. They were weak physically, so they would collapse under the strain by. They would go through academics in the fields in the Middle Ages. They were lucky if one of them lasted 40 minutes before he had to be buried. It was what?
Wow, they buried them quickly back in the day.
Oh, millions! They went through millions of academics.
Dying like flies.
It was terrible. Why do you think academics hate feudalism? It's because that visceral memory of having to work for a living. It was terrible. No, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I get tired of academic drill, which is funny, seeing I'm going to become one shortly. But both academic and a dribbler, no doubt. But seriously, the feudalism basically, at its most, basic, was the return of labor for protection. Sort of like the United States government and you. You don't get abused as long as you pay your income tax. And in return, you get fed, etc., unless you can't afford to, in which case you get welfare. Well, that is a bald explanation. Labor for protection. That's as basic as it gets. But of course, there was a lot more to it than that, because feudalism also saw the church as a full partner. And the parish church was the basic structure around which the village community centered. Now, mind you, an estate could have a number of parishes, and a great nobleman could have a number of great estates. And then, of course, you have the king, and overall the emperor. But as he implies here, the state was very notional. That is to say, people believed in it, but you'd been hard put to find it.
Oh, okay.
And part of the problem was that it was difficult for them to respond to any outside threat. Hence the Vikings, hence the Magyars, hence the Moors, their piracy and all that. It had its benefits, it had its downside. No serf could lose his land. You couldn't drive them off. They owned it. I mean, they couldn't leave it, but you couldn't take it.
Interesting.
In the later Middle Ages, if a serf escaped from the farm and hid out in the city for a year and a day, he'd be a free man of that city.
Mm-hmm.
But hence the old saying in German, Stadtluft macht frei, which means city air makes free. But was it a good system? Well, as compared to what? As compared to our system? Well, it didn't produce as many conveniences as ours does. It didn't make everything plastic wrapped for our protection, the way our system does. There's a lot of things that we hold dear that they just did not do, or did not have, or did not want.
Like?
Rapid social mobility. Of course, we don't have that either. We pretend we do.
What does that mean? Like a car?
No. Well, it can. But in particular, it means that you could go up to your mayor and say, I'm equal to you. And he'll smile, pat you on the head, and go back to his mansion and leave you in the dust where you belong.
Depends on the city.
Bell.
The mayor of Alhambra is my dentist, and he told me he actually takes a pay cut whenever he goes to a meeting. So I wouldn't be trashing on How?
That's not L.A.
Okay, well, LA
That's
is
not
a
New
different
York.
city, yeah.
That's not Philadelphia. That's not Cleveland.
But it's not mayors as a rule.
No. And towns are different. But the bigger the city, the less control you have over anything, and the less they care about you.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Alhambra is different because there are enough people running around here, and it's a small enough area.
So were you saying we had social mobility, or that's something we desire? What?
Well, we had a certain degree of social mobility, possibly more than they had in feudal times. But even our social mobility is it's more than a bit overrated.
It's a land of opportunity.
It sure
I
was.
mean, if you work hard enough, you can achieve your dreams, which I believe actually.
It sure was.
I don't like the past tense.
Okay, go to your happy place.
Go to my happy place. Okay.
Are you back in your happy
I'm
place?
back in my happy place.
Do you see the Play-Doh?
Yes.
All right, make a bridge out of the Play-Doh. Don't you feel good?
I feel good.
Now take a little card and put it over the bridge.
Okay.
Isn't that better?
That's good.
Okay. Now come back to the present.
Okay.
Isn't everything better now?
Yes.
All right. Let's move on.
Okay.